Hi, it's Von Hertzog. I'd like to welcome you back to the Social Club, my analog digital hybrid studio. Today I want to talk to you about my mastering grade converter, the Dangerous Music Convert 80 Plus. I love this converter. I picked it because it can do a bunch of different things. It can be a very clean converter. It can capture the analog as purely and cleanly as possible, or if we want, we can enact the transformer and the emphasis knob and get a little analog mojo out of it that wasn't there otherwise. What this does is it creates this incredibly versatile analog to digital converter that I have found to be my favorite of all the ones I've auditioned. So I want to tell you all about it. Pour yourself a cup of coffee, pour yourself a glass of whiskey, whatever you're into, pull up a chair, let's get into it. Welcome to the Social Club. So why do I want to talk to you about the Dangerous Music Convert 80 Plus? Well, for the past 4 years, it has been life-changing for me. Before, the way I was handling my mixing and mastering process is I was doing analog summing, I was taking all of that, but then I was finishing off the files digitally. So I was doing all of my EQ and compression for mastering in the box. What the Dangerous Convert 80 Plus allowed me to do is start doing mastering in the analog realm. And it allows that because it's very versatile, it takes a ton of heat, and it allowed me to do some soft clipping to get these masters really loud and in your face. The soft clipper helps smooth those things out. The transformer helps pull everything together and give it a nice cohesive analog glue. I have found the Dangerous Convert 80 Plus to be one of my most indispensable pieces of gear. It does everything I need it to. So, a little bit of background. I have been professionally mixing and mastering music for over 20 years now. I started in hip hop, and that's really where I made my bones of being an engineer. A lot of late night sessions, a lot of sessions being canceled, a lot of different criteria and working environments. But it taught me how to adapt, how to think on my feet, and how to constantly deliver high quality mixes and masters. I have an Antelope Orion 32 Plus. Antelope is world renowned for their clocking, 64-bit acoustically focused clocking. That's their whole thing. They make the 10M clock, but the Orion 32 Plus comes with their 64-bit acoustically focused clocking. I ended up preferring the clocking on the Dangerous, and I want to tell you how this ended up happening. I was working on a remix for the band Blacklight. Do you know Blacklight? If not, check them out. But I was working on this remix for Blacklight, and I had just gotten the Convert 80 Plus. And so I was starting to experiment with it and try different features of it. I decided to try out the clocking, the master clock in the Dangerous Convert. I slaved the Orion to the Dangerous, and I started working on it. Then I switched the clock back and ran to grab lunch. I ate lunch. I come back down in the studio. But now when I hit play, it's not sounding the way that the printed file sounded. And it's confusing me because I know I had this sounding the way I wanted, and now it's not sounding that way anymore. And it's very minute, but there's certain points where the mix was just poking out a little too far, and I couldn't figure out what was happening. And then it dawned on me, wait, I switched the clock. I gotta switch the clock back and see if that fixes it. I doubt that it's clocking, because can clocking really make that big of a difference? I don't know. Yes, it can. It can make a giant difference, because when I switched the clock back, all of a sudden my mix fell right back into place where I had it. And it really made me start questioning, like, well then, how big of a role can the clock play? And so I started experimenting on other sessions where I would switch back between the Antelope clocking and I would use the Dangerous clocking. And often I would print the two different versions, send it to an artist and have them blind test it and be like, tell me if you prefer A or B. Should have been A or D, right? But I gave them the option and I said, hey, let me know which one you like. And more often than not, people preferred the Dangerous. It just sounds more polished. It sounds a little smoother and more like a finished record. But they are both calling attention to how accurate and good their clocks are. Yet when I listen to them, I can tell that they're presenting the information in different ways. If I had to say, what do I notice as the differences between the clocking of the Antelope versus the Dangerous sounds more like analog to me, and the Antelope sounds more like it made the analog sound like digital. Like it just sounds a little thinner, a little glossier, but not quite as smooth and cohesive as the Dangerous. And it's a preference, like I'm not 100% sure why I prefer the Dangerous clock. If you'd like me to do a video on the clocking differences between the Antelope and the Dangerous, leave me a comment. It's a good amount of work making these videos, so I don't want to waste my time on something that no one has any interest in. So if you are interested, drop me a line, let me know that you're interested, and I can make a video showcasing the minute but, to me, very important differences between the Antelope clocking and the Dangerous clocking. So when I did start mastering, I started where I would mix in analog and master in digital. And it was just because I didn't have the digital hardware necessary to appropriately master an analog. My converter wasn't good enough. I did have a Neve master bus processor, so it's not like I couldn't get it there in analog, but I didn't have the converter that could carry it across the finish line for me. And that's what the Dangerous Convert 80 Plus has given me. It's given me a converter that I can trust implicitly. And I know that when I'm handing the analog signal from the SSL Sigma up through the Mogami Gold cables into the Dangerous Convert 80 Plus, that I'm getting the best possible sound I can out of my gear. But about 3 years ago, I made the full-on push to do all mastering in analog. Digital has been great. It's gotten me so far, but I was able to get better sound in analog, and I was able to get it quicker. And to me, that's what matters. Faster, quicker, better. That's what I want. I don't want to be down here struggling against the computer, fighting through plugins to try and get it to sound the way I want it to sound. If I can do that faster and quicker with analog, I'm going to do it with analog. I'm not going to waste my own time. So there's a couple things about the unit that I want to cover with you today. I'll go over the inputs, the clocking, ClipGuard, the transformers, the emphasis knob. I'm going to cover all of it. So stick around and we'll see what we can get into here. When I got the unit, I watched all of Fab Dupont's videos where he was going through all the different sections of the Dangerous. And he did a fantastic job. So I don't want to just rehash what he did. I can point you to those videos if you're interested. I'll put links down in the description to Fab's videos about the Dangerous Convert 80 Plus. So what I really want to do is give you an idea of how it affected my workflow here at the Social Club and why I've found it to be an indispensable piece of gear that I can't live without anymore. I had the Neve Master Bus Processor, and I had to make a decision. I could either keep it, or I could sell it and get a converter. Now, Neve had just put out their new converter at that time, and I compared that to the Dangerous, and I liked the flexibility on the Dangerous more. And I really liked the ClipGuard in it. I like pushing the mix into ClipGuard more than I do mixing into a limiter, because with limiters, you have attack and release times. And like I said, this is updating every sample. As things are being pushed in, they're being rounded off, and it's giving me back the sound that I want. All right, so let's take a look here at the Dangerous Music Convert 80 Plus manual. Overview. DA conversion has been an integral part of the Dangerous Music legacy since 2002, when the Monitor set the standard for mastering engineers worldwide. Since then, our DAs have been utilized in products like the D-Box, DAC ST, Source, and culminating in the Convert 2 and Convert 8 next-generation converters. With this legacy firmly established, we sought to craft the ultimate AD. Painstakingly designed without compromise, adhering only to the core philosophies of transparent yet musical that have come to define Dangerous, the Convert 80 Plus is profoundly detailed to capture your sound with an unrestricted, potent low end and an unhyped clarity that holds true from the mid-range through the open top end. Pronounced convert, as in a person who has changed to a different religion, belief, etc. So it's a Convert 80 Plus, not a Convert 80 Plus, just so you know. If we look at the front panel, we can see the sample rate. It covers all the standard sample rates from 44.1 up to 192 kilohertz. One of the features the Convert 80 Plus has is USB auto detect. This allows you to connect your Convert 80 Plus via a USB cable to your computer, and it will monitor for sample rate changes in your project and will update the sample rate in the Convert 80 Plus appropriately. You have 3 options for your calibration level: -14, -16, and -18 decibels full scale. I'm using -18 because that's what I have it set up for on the Sigma and on my Orion. When it comes to the analog input on the Convert 80 Plus, there are 2 separate stereo inputs. However, they can only be used one at a time, so you can't connect both inputs and record them simultaneously. It's made more for A/Bing. ClipGuard is one of the things that really pushes this piece of gear into the must-have territory. Feature: do you dig pushing your AD beyond 0 decibels full scale into clipping for specific sonics? ClipGuard will turn off the red light LED at your destination, i.e. your DAW. Benefit: now pesky clients worried about a red LED here and there won't harangue you, and the majority of the digital upload sites will not reject your opus, since the red light overs will not appear. It's important to know that when engaged, the ClipGuard button light will be bright red. Now, it is important to know that if you can hear clipping and engage ClipGuard, it will sound identical. It simply disables the clip LED in your DAW or your destination device, but it will still be audibly clipping, so proceed with caution. Too many overs will sound remarkably unpleasant, and the historical CD pressing plant standard was no more than 3 consecutive overs. Unlike turning down the master fade level, ClipGuard does not alter the unclipped audio in any way. You have your standard peak, hold and reset button, and you have a meter scaling button. Now, what does the meter scaling button do? It gives you 2 options. You can either see your full signal all the way from the noise floor up to 0 dBs, or you can choose the zoom mode, which zooms in to only the top 10 decibels of your signal. This lets you know how hot the audio is being recorded in. I find I like to have the bass pushing in a little bit at the low part of the zoom. Word clock. This is a vital part of the setup for me. I use my Convert 80 Plus as my master clock. I slave my Orion 32 Plus to the master word clock of the Convert 80 Plus. Tip: try utilizing the Convert 80 Plus as the master clock. Our high-profile beta testers found it remarkably revealing and detailed, and this is the best-sounding clock audition to date, and we've tried everything. Footnote: the Convert 80 Plus leverages Jet PLL technology and surrounds it with analog genius, thus executing it flawlessly. Here we go. Click the transformer insert button and engage some of Chris Muth's sonic wizardry via a pair of customized Hammond transformers with over 100 years of Canadian design. Another of our unique approaches to generating real analog artifacts with legitimate character. Benefit: the transformer tightens up the low end with a gentle roll-off starting at 100 Hz and a half a decibel down at 40 Hz, 1 decibel down around 10 Hz or so. Simultaneously, the energy removed by that curve is folded up an octave. The translation? The bass is more powerful on earbuds and small speakers. Subtle, yet pleasing. On the top end side, there's a gentle rise starting at 3K to half a decibel up at about 13K and 1 decibel up at 20K at nominal levels. During loud average levels like S in a loud lead vocal, core saturation kicks in and the top end compresses gently. The outcome is heightened articulation while softening the shearing at peaks. The transformer is engaged even when the knob is fully counterclockwise. It's in series, not parallel. The button utilizes a true hardware bypass. When it's bypassed, none of the transformer or emphasis circuitry is in the audio path. The emphasis knob. Add the perfect amount of emphasis on a wet-dry knob. The emphasis is a shelving EQ compressor with a low turnover frequency that induces second-order harmonic distortion. The EQ starts boosting at 300 Hz. Imagine a back-style EQ with a top shelf that goes down to 300 Hz instead of 1.8 kHz, and it boosts 1 decibel when the emphasis knob is at 12 noon and 2 decibels when it's full on. Blend in a bit of mid-warmth and sparkle. Emphasis turns up the level gently by adding frequencies between the notes of your source. The compressor lowers the gain blended back into the transformer with a turnover point at about -14 decibels full scale and reaching unity right at full scale. Click the Xformer insert button and engage some of Chris Muth's sonic wizardry via a pair of customized Hammond transformers and twist the emphasis knob to the right to taste. And then if we're looking at the connections in the back, these are the two analog inputs I was talking about. Again, reminder, you can only use one of them at a time, but it's made for ABing. AES outputs, ADAT optical output. Now, here's something that I like. This gives you the option of using an optical cable to either use the ADAT output, which outputs just channels 1 and 2 of ADAT, and a SPDIF optical output, which you don't find very often. But what I do like is it still gives you the SPDIF RCA output. So you get the best of both worlds. And then you have your word clock in and out. I currently have these connected to my Orion 32 Plus. I'm taking the output from here and putting it to the input of the Orion 32 Plus. And the Orion 32 Plus word clock out, I'm putting to the input here on here. So that way I can quickly and easily switch between the two clocks in a session without having to connect any cables or do anything crazy. Here we are in Plugin Doctor. What's happening now is the signal is going out of my Orion 32 Plus into the SSL Sigma, which is remarkably flat, and out of the SSL Sigma into the Dangerous Convert 80 Plus. If I'm to engage the transformer, watch what happens to the signal. As it stated in the book, you can tell where it starts rolling off the low end a bit, and it gives that boost to the highs, starting at about 3K, and you're up a bit, 20K, you're up. So that's what it looks like, simply engaging the transformer. Now, if I'm to use the emphasis knob, let's turn it to high noon and see what happens. That is the subtle rise at about 300 Hertz described in the manual. If I turn it all the way up, there we are. Getting that 2 dB boost. There's about 1 decibel of boost, 2 decibels of boost. So you can see how the emphasis knob has quite a bit of impact. Take the transformer back out. So there we are. You can see right here how your frequency adapts based on which portions of the Convert 80 Plus you're utilizing, the transformer or the emphasis knob as well. The way I have come to use this in my workflow is I keep the transformer engaged and I keep the emphasis knob at high noon. That means it's adding that 1 decibel of lift on the back EQ, starting at about 300 Hertz. It puts the shelf there, and big fan. But yeah, I love this converter. I think it is very high quality. It's built like a tank. You know, Chris Muth, New York State. I love having gear that is locally designed and built. I have a new music project coming out with an old college friend of mine, Aaron McLean. He and I went to the Art Institute of Philadelphia together starting way back in 1999. Aaron has since gone on to run many successful companies, and now he's getting back into looking at revisiting some old music he's written and getting it ready to release. So that's where I come in. He hit me up. Together, we've been working. I'm co-producing with him. He's writing the music. I'm co-producing, mixing, and mastering. And together, we are Majestic Phoenix. So come check out majestic-phoenix.com. You can catch us on social, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you go. TikTok, maybe? I don't know. I think we'll get there eventually, right? But that's majestic-phoenix.com. Majestic-phoenix.com. Check us out. Our debut EP, Manifest, will drop in a couple of months. We have 3 singles dropping before the EP drops. Hope you enjoy them. And stay tuned. Again, if you're an artist who has music that needs engineering, check out my Patreon. 100% of your Patreon dues get kicked back here for services at the Social Club. So if you're an artist with an EP or an album on the horizon and you're worried about paying one big lump sum for all your engineering fees, come join the Patreon. You can pay a little bit every month. It all gets added up. The higher your tier, the more percentage you get back. I give 115% back, 125% back, depending on the tiers you pick. So give it a look. And shout to Ralph, my sidekick. He's still asleep on the couch, snoozing up a dream. And until next time, this has been Von Hertzog from the Social Club.